Welcome back to Next-Gen Diecast for the start of Race 3 here in the 2021 Next-Gen Piston Cup. Let's go ahead and introduce our Group 1 drivers. First up, it's the Igniter number 2, Jackson Storm. And next up, the Blinker number 21, Ryan Laney. And next up, it's the No Stall number 123, Jonas Carvers. And last up, it's the rookie from Rusty's Racing Center, number 94, Jay. These drivers will compete in 4 races, and the driver with the most points will advance to the final here in Race 3. Jay and Carvers will start in row 1. Laney and Storm starting in row 2. And Race 3 is officially underway. Jay will lead into turn 1. Laney trying to make the move for second. There's contact. Laney's on top of Carvers and then around. Here comes Jay leading out of turn 4. Jay will win the first race over Jackson Storm. Carvers third, and Laney is facing the wrong direction. He's stuck at the entrance of turn 3. After going on a wild ride, Carvers forces him into the wall. Laney ends up on top of Carvers halfway down the mid-straight and then hits the hill on the outside of the track. And then Jay beats out Storm by half a car length to take the first race. So Jay picks up right where he left off in Race 2, and he starts with 5 points. Storm picks up 3, Carvers with 2, and then Laney has 0. For Race 2, Jonas Carvers and Jackson Storm will start in row 1, and then we've got Jay and Ryan Laney lining up in row 2. And the gate drops and we're back racing. Good start for Storm on the outside. Carvers is loose and he's going to spin coming out of 2. Jackson Storm takes the lead, and it's going to be Storm winning Race 2 over Carvers. And then Laney just ahead of Jay to take third. Carvers would get loose and spin coming out of turn 2. That would open the door for Jackson Storm to go around him on the inside and take the lead. And he would go on to take a big 5 points here in Race 2. And then a close finish between Laney and Jay for third. So Jackson Storm is the new points leader 2 races in. He's got 8 points. Jay in second with 6 points. Jonas Carvers in third with 5. And then Ryan Laney in fourth with 2. The drivers are back at the starting gate, ready to go for Race 3. Jackson Storm and Ryan Laney will start in row 1. Jonas Carvers and Jay starting in row 2. And here we go for Race 3. Good start for Laney on the outside lane. He's going to lead coming out of turn 2. Storm following closely behind coming out of turn 4. Storm spins. Laney will take the win. Jay finishing second. Storm third. Carvers in fourth. What a great run for Ryan Laney on the outside. He carried a lot of momentum coming out of turn 2, and he was able to clear Storm. And then watch Jackson Storm coming out of turn 4. He gets sideways. And then Jay gets into him, actually forcing Storm up on the wall. And Storm goes from second to third. So after 3 heats, Jackson Storm will continue to lead the way in the standings. He's got 10 points. Jay in second with 9. Ryan Laney up to third with 7 points. And then Jonas Carvers down to fourth with 6. Just one more race to go. And it is a must-win situation for both Ryan Laney and Jackson Storm. It's going to be Laney and Jay in row 1. Storm and Carvers in row 2. And the final race is underway. Laney leads into turn 1. Here comes Jay trying to make a move. Storm to second. Here they come to the finish line. It's going to be Jackson Storm. Storm beats out Laney by less than 2/100ths of a second here in the final race. What a run for Jackson Storm as he goes all the way from third to first in half a lap, making the move on Jay around the outside. And then the door opens up and he had enough momentum to make the pass on Laney. That block right there, Laney on Jay, that slowed up Jay's momentum just enough to allow Storm to go around him on the outside. And then Storm just beats out Laney and Carvers, taking away third from Jay at the last second as well. So what a way to finish Group 1 here in Race 3. Jackson Storm is the winner, and he will advance on to the final of Race 3. Ryan Laney and Jay tie with 10 points apiece, and then Jonas Carvers finishes in fourth with 8 points. Let's introduce our Group 2 drivers. First up, it's the Tank Coat number 36, Rich Mixon. Next up, the Octane Gain number 19, Danny Suarez. And next up, the four-wheel drive number 54, Herb Kerbler. And last up, the N2O Cola number 68, H.J. Hollis. We are set and ready to go for the first race here in Group 2. H.J. Hollis and Herb Kerbler will start in row 1, and then we've got Danny Suarez and Rich Mixon starting in row 2. The gate drops and we are back to racing. Hollis leads into 1. Kerbler's going to fend off the move from Suarez to hold on to 2nd. Coming out of turn 4, Hollis leads. He's into the wall and Kerbler goes around to take the win. Hollis finishes 2nd, and then it's a photo finish for 3rd. Mixon just over Suarez. What a brilliant run for Herb Kerbler coming out of turn 4. Hollis gets into the wall a little loose, and that opened the door for Kerbler to go right around him. And then watch this close finish for 3rd. Mixon just barely beating out Suarez as he kind of cruises across the finish line. So Herb Kerbler leads after the first race. He's got 5 points. Hollis has 3. Mixon with 2. And then Suarez has 1. The drivers are back at the gate ready to go for race 2. Kerbler and Mixon will start in row 1. Hollis and Suarez in row 2. And the green flag is back out. Great start for Kerbler. He's going to lead into 1. Here they go into turn 3. Mixon to the inside. He gets turned around. Kerbler leads out of turn 4. Kerbler's around, but it's going to be Kerbler over Mixon at the line. Hollis 3rd and Suarez in 4th. What a chain of events. Mixon gets blocked by Kerbler and then got turned around. And then Kerbler hits the wall. He spins around. And a little bump from Hollis pushes Kerbler past Mixon to grab the win. Watch it one more time. Kerbler and Mixon were side by side until Hollis got into Kerbler and gave him a little boost. And that's going to allow Kerbler to start with back-to-back wins and 10 points. He will continue to lead. Hollis and Mixon tied with 5 points apiece, and Suarez with 2 points. For race 3, Rich Mixon and Danny Suarez will start in row 1, and then Herb Kerbler and H.J. Hollis will start in row 2. Here we go for race 3. Mixon leads into turn 1. Kerbler to 2nd. Mixon's going to pull away. Coming out of turn 4, Mixon all by himself. He'll win race 3. Kerbler 2nd, and then Suarez is going to finish just ahead of H.J. Hollis to take 3rd. It was all Rich Mixon in race 3 as he wins by a large margin over Herb Kerbler. And then Hollis tried to run Suarez down in reverse but couldn't quite get the job done and will settle for 4th. So 3 races in, Herb Kerbler continues to lead. He's got 13. Mixon has 10, Hollis with 6, and then Suarez has 4. Going into the final race, it's going to be a battle between Herb Kerbler and Rich Mixon to see who will advance to the final in race 3. Suarez and Hollis starting out front. Mixon and Kerbler starting in the back. And the engines will roar one last time today. Great start for Suarez. He leads out of 2. Hollis with the block on Mixon. He holds on to 2nd. Here comes Hollis. He's making a run on Suarez, but it'll be Suarez winning the final race of the day over Hollis. Mixon 3rd and Kerbler finishes in 4th. What a block that H.J. Hollis threw on Rich Mixon. It actually forced Mixon up onto the wall coming down the mid-straight. And then Hollis tried to make a run on Suarez but couldn't quite get close enough to make a move. So that will do it for Group 2. Herb Kerbler will win here in Group 2 and he will advance to the final of race 3. Herb Kerbler finishes with 14 points. Rich Mixon in 2nd with 12 points. And then we've got Danny Suarez and H.J. Hollis finishing with 9 points apiece. Here are the overall driver standings. Halfway through race 3, Jay has extended his lead to a 13-point gap over H.J. Hollis. Herb Kerbler up to 3rd. He's got 55 points. Jonas Carver's up to 4th. He also has 55 points. Now, one driver will advance to the championship race on points alone, and it could be Jonas Carver's as he currently sits 4th, but he's going to need some help from the drivers behind him that have yet to run in race 3. He's going to need them to put up some low point totals. Herb Kerbler and Jackson Storm advance on to the final in race 3. They will have another opportunity to put up points on the board and a chance to lock a spot in the championship race. For Ryan Laney, Rich Mixon, and Danny Suarez, that will be the end of their run here in the 2021 Next-Gen Piston Cup. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us again today. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you all back here next week for the Legacy Piston Cup Final. Take care. Welcome back to Next-Gen Diecast for the final two groups of Round 1 here in Race 3 of the Next-Gen Piston Cup. Let's introduce the drivers of Group 3. First up, the Synergy number 5, Eric Breaker. Next up, the Easy Idol number 15, Harvey Rodcap. And next up, the Rusty's Racing Center rookie, number 57, Jun Yi. And last up, the Gaskets number 80, Dan Garcia. These 4 drivers will compete in 4 races, and the driver with the most points will advance to the final here in Race 3. Rodcap and Jun Yi will start in row 1. Garcia and Breaker will start in row 2. And Group 3 is off. Good start for Rodcap. He'll lead him into turn 1. Good battle for second. Rodcap spins around. Coming out of turn 4, Rodcap leads and he'll win the first race. Jun Yi's second, Garcia third, and Breaker is up against the barriers at the exit of turn 4. Contact between Jun Yi and Garcia coming out of turn 2 had Garcia up on 2 wheels. Rodcap spun all the way around going through 3 and 4. Breaker was forced into the barriers. He scores a DNF in the first race, and it's Harvey Rodcap taking the first win of the day. He'll start out with 5 points. Jun Yi with 3 points. Dan Garcia picks up 2. And not the way Breaker wanted to start his day. He picks up 0 points. The drivers are back at the starting gate ready to go for the second race. It's Jun Yi and Breaker in row 1, and then Rodcap and Garcia in row 2. And here we go for race 2. Good battle going into turn 1. Breaker's going to take the lead coming out of 2. He's going to lead him out of 4, and it's going to be Eric Breaker winning the second race over Jun Yi. Garcia third, and Rodcap finishes in 4th. What a great battle between Jun Yi and Eric Breaker. Breaker had the outside lane coming out of turn 2, and he was able to clear Jun Yi and go on to take a big win and put down a very fast time, the 3rd fastest track time of the season. With an 8.150, Eric Breaker just the 4th driver here in the Next-Gen Piston Cup to put down an 8.1 track time. After race 2, Harvey Rodcap and Jun Yi are tied with 6 points apiece. Eric Breaker has 5, and then Dan Garcia has 4. Harvey Rodcap is the only one of these 4 drivers that could potentially make the championship race off of points alone. It is a must-win situation for the other 3 drivers. For race 3, Breaker and Garcia starting out front. The gate drops and we are back racing. Garcia leads him into 1. He's over the wall into the side of the mountain. Garcia still leading. Here they come out of turn 4. It's going to be Dan Garcia over Harvey Rodcap by a 1/10 of a second. Dan Garcia went off the track at the same spot earlier this season. This time he gets into the side of the mountain, does a full 360. He's back on the track, throws the block on Rodcap to hold on to the lead, and then races down to the line to take the win. Rodcap just beats out Jun Yi for second, so an excellent race and a wild ride for Dan Garcia. We've seen that before. So Dan Garcia and Harvey Rodcap tied with 9 points apiece. Jun Yi has 8, and then Eric Breaker has 6. All 4 drivers can still win this group and advance on to the final. We've got 1 race to go. Garcia and Rodcap will start in row 1. Breaker and Jun Yi will start in row 2. And the final race of Group 3 is underway. Garcia will lead him out of turn 2. Rodcap nose to tail with him. Garcia's loose. He spins out of 4, and he's going to win the race in reverse. Rodcap finishes second, just ahead of Breaker, and then Jun Yi comes through in 4th. Rodcap was nose to tail with Garcia going into turn 3. Garcia had so much speed going into 3. He had a ton of oversteer, gets loose, ends up spinning around, but he's still able to hold on and take the win. And Dan Garcia winning the final race. He'll win Group 3 here in Race 3. He'll advance on to the final. Rodcap finishes in second with 12 points. Jun Yi third with 9, and then Eric Breaker back in 4th with 8 points. An exciting group to start the day. Let's introduce the drivers of Group 4. First up, the toe cap number 4, JD McPillar. Next up, the Rust-eze Racing Center rookie, number 35, Ronald. And next up, the Vuezine number 39, Michael Roeder. And last up, the Clutch Aid number 121, Noah Gocek. Just one spot remains available in the final of race 3. One of these 4 drivers will claim that spot. Ronald and Roeder will start out front. McPillar and Gocek starting in the back for the first race. The gate drops and Group 4 is off. Roeder will lead him into turn 1. Contact between Roeder and Ronald. Ronald sideways coming out of 2, and Roeder's going to pull away. Roeder will win the first race of Group 4. Ronald second, Gocek third, and McPillar in fourth. Roeder comes down right in front of Ronald going into turn 1. That got Ronald sideways and kind of slows up the pack behind Roeder. And Roeder just pulled away. Gets a little sideways coming down to the finish line, but he's able to take the win here in the first race. Big win for Michael Roeder as he continues his quest towards the Piston Cup. Michael Roeder wins the first heat. He picks up 5 points. Ronald with 3 points. Noah Gocek picks up 2, and then JD McPillar with 1 point. We are set for race 2. Roeder and Gocek starting in row 1, and then Ronald and McPillar starting in row 2. And the green flag is back out. Roeder will lead him into turn 1 again. Great run for Roeder. Gocek trying to make a run going into turn 3. And it's going to be Michael Roeder winning back-to-back races. Gocek second, Ronald third, and McPillar coming in fourth. Beautiful run for Roeder coming through 1 and 2. There was some contact between Gocek and Ronald. Gocek trying to close the gap. And then coming down to the finish line, Roeder gets into the wall sideways again. And Gocek was able to close the gap a little bit, but not quite enough to get the win. So Michael Roeder with back-to-back wins. He starts with 10 points. He will continue to lead. He's got a 5-point lead over both Gocek and Ronald. And then McPillar in fourth. He's got 2 points. We're back ready to go for the third race. Noah Gocek and JD McPillar in row 1. Michael Roeder and Ronald in row 2. The gate drops, and it's going to be a good battle going into turn 1. Gocek will lead him out of 2. Roeder's in second. McPillar makes contact with Roeder through 3 and 4. Gocek will win race 3. Michael Roeder second, McPillar third, and Ronald coming in fourth. With a little help from Michael Roeder as he bump drafts Gocek going into 1. Gocek gets a great run coming out of turn 2, able to take the lead, and then Roeder had to close the door on McPillar as McPillar was making a bid for second. But Gocek coming through, winning race 3, a big win for Gocek, and Roeder scoring some good points again as well. So after 3 races, Michael Roeder will continue to lead. He's got 13 points. Noah Gocek has closed the gap. He's now just 3 points behind Roeder. We've got Ronald in third with 6 points, and then JD McPillar in fourth with 4. So this is going to be a race between Roeder and Gocek. Which one of those 2 drivers will advance to the final? For the final race, McPillar and Ronald starting in row 1. Gocek and Roeder will start in row 2. The gate drops and the final race is underway. Good battle for the lead between McPillar and Ronald. McPillar comes down on Ronald. He gets turned around. Roeder to second. Here comes McPillar. He'll win the final race in reverse. Roeder second, Gocek third, Ronald in fourth. What a battle between Ronald and McPillar. McPillar would cut over in front of Ronald. That would turn McPillar around. Roeder was able to drive around Ronald on the outside to take second, and then McPillar pedal down in reverse, and he was able to beat Roeder by just over 1/10 of a second to win the final race and end his season on a high note. So Michael Roeder will win here in Group 4, and he will advance to the final of race 3. Michael Roeder finishes with 16 points. Noah Gocek in second with 12 points. JD McPillar finishes third with 11 points. And then Ronald in fourth with just 7 points. So at the end of round 1 here in race 3, Harvey Rodcap has moved into second in the standings. And then we've got Michael Roeder. He has also put himself in the top 4. Michael Roeder, Dan Garcia, Herb Kerbler, and Jackson Storm will compete in the final of race 3, and they will have an opportunity to put up some more points on the board and potentially lock a spot in the championship race. For Ronald, Jun Yi, Eric Breaker, Noah Gochek, and JD McPillar. That will be the end of their run here in the 2021 Next-Gen Piston Cup. It was a very successful round for Dom's Tuner Shop, as they are now only 8 points behind VCD 132 Racing. Dom's Tuner Shop will have an opportunity to regain the lead in the final of Race 3. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you back here next week for the final of Race 3. Take care. Welcome back to Next-Gen Diecast for the final of Race 3 here in the Next-Gen Piston Cup. Today will be the last chance for these drivers to lock a spot in next week's championship race. Let's introduce our 4 finalists. First up, it's the Igniter number 2, Jackson Storm. Next up, the Viewzine number 39, Michael Roeder. And next up, the four-wheel drive number 54, Herb Kerbler. And last up, the gaskets number 80, Dan Garcia. 4 drivers and 4 races. The winner will lock a spot in the championship race next week. Roeder and Garcia starting in row 1. Kerbler and Storm starting in row 2. And the final of race 3 is underway. Garcia leads him into 1. He's sideways coming out of 2. Into 3. Kerbler turns Garcia around and Kerbler goes to 2nd. Garcia's into the catch fence and Kerbler will take the win. Roeder 2nd, Garcia 3rd, and Storm in 4th. And it's another wild race for Dan Garcia. Garcia was sideways going into turn 3. Kerbler gets into him, turns him all the way around as Kerbler goes to 2nd, and then in reverse, Garcia climbs the wall. Big impact with the catch fence, and then Kerbler gets into the side of Dan Garcia and pushes through to take the win. A couple of big impacts for Dan Garcia. First into the catch fence, and then Kerbler got into him as well. We've seen Dan Garcia with several bad crashes this season. After the first race, Herb Kerbler, he will lead with 5 points. Michael Roeder picks up 3 points. Dan Garcia picked up 2, and then Jackson Storm with 1. The drivers are back at the starting gate ready to go for race 2. Garcia and Storm starting in row 1, and then Roeder and Kerbler starting in row 2. And we are back racing. Good battle going into turn 1. Storm's going to lead out of 2, but he spins. Roeder on the outside. He passes Garcia for 2nd. Storm in reverse. He'll take the win. Jackson Storm winning. Roeder 2nd. Garcia coasts across the line in 3rd. And then Kerbler finishes in 4th. Some contact between Storm and Garcia got Storm turned around coming out of 2. And then going into turn 3, a great run for Roeder on the outside. And then he forces his way in to take 2nd away from Dan Garcia, but he could not run down Jackson Storm, who takes a big win here in race 2. Jackson Storm is the only one of these 4 drivers that cannot advance to the championship race off of points alone. It is a must-win situation for Storm. So after race 2, we've got 3 drivers tied with 6 points apiece. Storm, Kerbler, and Roeder all have 6, and then Dan Garcia has 4. Race 3. It'll be Jackson Storm and Herb Kerbler starting in row 1. And then Dan Garcia and Michael Roeder starting in row 2. And here we go for race 3. Storm leads him into turn 1. Great run for Storm. He's pulling away. Garcia to 3rd. And it's going to be Jackson Storm winning back-to-back races. It was all Jackson Storm here in race 3. Garcia made the move on Roeder going into turn 3. Then he got sideways, some contact between those 2 drivers. But Garcia was able to hold on to 3rd. But it's Jackson Storm winning back-to-back races and taking the points lead. Jackson Storm has 11. Herb Kerbler has 9 points. Then Michael Roeder has 7. And Dan Garcia has 6. So here we go. We've got 1 race to go. Storm with a 2-point lead over Kerbler. But Michael Roeder is also within striking distance. Kerbler and Roeder will be starting in row 1. And then in row 2, Storm, and Garcia. One race, one spot in the championship. Here we go. Green flag is out. They race into turn one. Kerbler leads. Storm, Rotor battling. Storm's around. Kerbler into the wall. Storm's going to go around him and take the win. Jackson Storm winning 3 straight races, and he just locked a spot into the championship race next week. Wow, what a finish. Going into turn 3, Storm gets turned around, and then watch Kerbler into the wall. Storm gets into him and had such a good run coming out of turn 4 in reverse that he's able to push his way through and take the win. Absolute heartbreak for Herb Kerbler as he gives up the lead at the last moment to Jackson Storm. Jackson Storm winning here in the final of race 3. He locks a spot in the championship race next week as he finishes with 16 points. Herb Kerbler in second with 12 points. And then we've got Dan Garcia in third with 8. And Michael Rotor in fourth with 7. Disappointing run for the Dom's Tuner Shop drivers here today. And here are the driver standings at the end of race 3. It's Jay, H.J. Hollis, and Jackson Storm, the race winners that have clinched a spot in the championship race. And then Michael Rotor, the top scoring driver that did not win one of the first 3 races. He beats out Herb Kerbler by 2 points, and he will join the other 3 in the championship race next week with an opportunity to become the Next-Gen Piston Cup Champion. In the team standings, we've got another lead change with Dom's Tuner Shop taking a 7-point lead over VCD 132 Racing. And then Else Racing making a big jump this week as they go from 7th all the way up to 4th. Thank you all so much for joining us again today. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you back here next week for the championship race. Take care. Welcome back to Next-Gen Diecast for the Next-Gen Piston Cup Championship. It's been a long season, and it all comes down to these 4 drivers here today. Let's go ahead and introduce our 4 finalists. First up, driving for Crime Syndicate Racing, number 2, Jackson Storm. Storm barely squeaked into race 3, where he came through with a clutch performance and a big win, locking a spot in the championship race, and now he's got a shot at another title. Next up, driving for Dom's Tuner Shop, number 39, Michael Rotor. Rotor has been extremely consistent all season long, and right now he holds not only the fastest time of the season, but the fastest time here at Thunder Mountain Speedway. And next up, also driving for Crime Syndicate Racing, number 68, H.J. Hollis. Hollis had a dominant performance in race 1, where he won 8 of 12 heat races. Today, he will look to get back into his early season form. And last up, driving for VCD 132 Racing, number 94, Jay. It's been a great season for him as he comes into the championship race, the points leader. We'll see if the rookie can take the title here today. We are set and ready to go for what should be a very exciting championship race. For race 1, Jay and Michael Rotor starting in row 1. H.J. Hollis and Jackson Storm will start in row 2. The gate drops and the championship race is underway. Jay leads him through 1 and 2. Here comes Rotor. He makes the pass on Jay. Rotor leads him out of 4. He spins. Jay gets into him, and it's going to be Rotor winning race 1. Jay finishes 2nd, Hollis 3rd, and Storm ends up in 4th. Jay was sideways through 1 and 2. That slowed him down, and Rotor gets a good run out of turn 2. He's able to make the pass, and then coming out of turn 4, Rotor completely spins. Jay gets into him. He spins around after some contact with Hollis, and Rotor is able to hold on and take race 1 here in the championship. So Michael Rotor will lead after race 1. He's got 5 points. Jay picks up 3 points. Hollis has 2. And then Jackson Storm picks up 1 point. The drivers are ready to go for the 2nd race. Michael Rotor and Jackson Storm starting in row 1. And then it's Jay and H.J. Hollis starting in row 2. The gate drops and we are back racing. Rotor leads them into turn 1. Here they come out of 2. Contact between Jay and Rotor. Rotor's around and Jay to the lead. Jay's going to slide across the finish line and take the win over Michael Rotor. Hollis third once again, and Jackson Storm back in 4th. Rotor got into the wall coming out of turn 2. Then he cut over in front of Jay, which caused him to spin out. Storm with a bump draft on Jay allowed Jay to take the lead, and then all chaos would break loose down at the finish line. Hollis was able to take away third from Jackson Storm right there at the end and pick up the extra point. But it's Jay with a big win, and he ties Michael Rotor in points. So 2 races in, Michael Rotor and Jay are tied with 8 points apiece. H.J. Hollis has 4, and it's a disappointing start for Jackson Storm with just 2 points. With just 2 races to go, it is time for Storm and Hollis to close the gap on the leaders. They will start in row 1. Rotor and Jay starting in row 2. Here we go for race 3. Storm will lead him into turn 1. Rotor spins coming out of 2. Hollis and Jay go around him, and it's going to be Storm sliding across the finish line to take the win here in race 3. Hollis second, Jay third, and Rotor in 4th. Storm was able to take the early lead, and then Rotor spins coming out of turn 2. And then a near perfect run through 3 and 4 for Jackson Storm. He gets into the wall a couple times, spins across the line to take the win. He still beat Hollis by 2 seconds. And had he not hit the wall and spun around, he may have put down a new fast time. So great race for Storm, and he is right back in this championship. So after 3 heats, Jay to the lead. He's got 10 points. Michael Rotor has 9. And then Jackson Storm and H.J. Hollis are tied with 7 points apiece. We've got just 1 more race to go, and anybody can win this championship. H.J. Hollis is winless in his last 13 heat races, but he's going to start out front with Jay here in the final race. Storm and Rotor starting in row 2. Here we go. The final race is underway. Good start for Hollis and Jay. Jay's going to take the lead coming out of 2. Going through 3 and 4, Hollis holds on to second, but it's going to be Jay winning the final race, and he's going to win the Next-Gen Piston Cup Championship. Hollis second, Rotor third, Storm finishing in 4th. What a battle between Jay and Hollis through 1 and 2. Jay with a great run coming out of turn 2, able to take the lead, and he did not look back. A blistering time into the 8.1s and wins the championship. With a track time of 8.182. Jay puts down the 4th quickest time of the season, beating out Jonas Carver's by just 1/1000th of a second. And here are the final standings here in the championship race. Jay finishing up top and becoming the Next-Gen Piston Cup Champion as he finishes with 15 points, 4 points ahead of second place Michael Rotor. H.J. Hollis finished in 3rd with 10 points, and then a disappointing day for Jackson Storm, finishing in last with 8 points. And here are the final driver standings. Jay was very deserving of this championship, as he not only won today's race, but he also scored the most points throughout the season, finishing 11 points ahead of second place Michael Rotor. H.J. Hollis finishes in 3rd with 73 points, and then it's Herb Kerbler rounding out the top 4 with 67 points. Harvey Rodcap, Dan Garcia, Jackson Storm, and Ronald would round out our top 8. In the team standings, Dom's Tuner Shop is able to hold on and win the team championship by just 3 points over VCD 132 Racing. It was a great battle between those 2 teams all season long. Crime Syndicate Racing rounds out our podium, and we want to say thank you to all of the teams that participated. And there is Jay with his Piston Cup trophy. He doesn't look too excited about it, but nevertheless, it was a great run this season as the rookie defeated all odds and has officially become a Piston Cup champion. Thank you all so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this season, and we will see you all again soon. Take care.